Welcome back, AppleSox fans, to another edition of the Wenatchee AppleSox Podcast. My name is Jackson Dodd, and today I'm very happy to be joined with Ian Sagdal, the new assistant coach for the AppleSox. Ian, thank you for joining today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Ian, just first off, you grew up in the Valley. You grew up in East. What's it like to coach in the same place that you grew up?
I gotta say it's kind of like a full circle moment for me.
Mhm.
I grew up going to AppleSox games back when Ed Nags was the head coach. I think that was the first time I actually experienced what like being a professional was like, even though I was, I think, only 8 years old. And Coach Nags probably did not like me in the dugout at that time, but it was a good firsthand experience just to see good quality baseball. And I'm just so happy to come back to my home roots and give back.
Yeah, of course. And what was your baseball journey like just growing up in the Valley?
Well, it really all began when I was a 10-year-old, I'd say. We ended up going to the Cal Ripken World Series. That was kind of like my first eye-opening, like, wow, baseball is everywhere. We ended up going to Williamsburg, excuse me, Virginia, playing against teams from Florida, Kentucky, all over the country. And it just kind of blossomed from there. I ended up joining a select ball team over here in Seattle, and ended up traveling the country. I think I had been to 20 to 30 states by the time I reached high school. So pretty cool being able to say that and be able to experience all these different states. And I think it actually helped my transition from high school to college with the travel and, opening up places like Mississippi State when I was at WSU. It wasn't such a culture shock for me,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
great,
it
great
totally makes
experience.
sense. And of course. And, for all the fans at home who don't know, I also go to Eastmont. So I play baseball as well. What was Eastmont baseball like back then?
Man, I'd have to say those were some of my fondest memories for baseball. I think that's where I really understood the brotherhood when you join like a special team like that. Um, we didn't really end up doing the things we wanted to, but they're memories that I'll always look back on and just smile, because I still talk to a lot of those guys today. Had unbelievable relationships. Coach Schmitten, at the time, he was a great coach. Enjoyed playing for him. And I know there's a lot of history that goes along with that field in general. The All-State game used to be there every year. Uh, just a really cool experience. I'm really glad they got lights now and they have the clubhouse for the boys. So I think it was a special place for me.
Yeah, and any like standout memories that you can think of that you can share today?
I think the one that immediately pops to my mind, I can't remember. I think it was our sophomore. It was either our sophomore or junior year. My buddy Tiger Garces. I think we were playing against Davis. Ended up hitting one into the tennis courts, which was just. It had everybody in awe. He had some of the most raw power that I've ever seen. Just things like that. Seeing other guys just be super successful. I mean, what better way to spend your high school days? So it was pretty fun watching that.
Exactly. I mean, tennis courts, that's at least 325, 350 feet if he's sitting all the way out there.
Yeah, I think you're pushing at least 425 at that point.
I'm more of a double guy, so I don't think we'll get that one very much, but at least somebody has gotten that one here at Eastmont. And, growing up, any other sports you played over at Eastmont?
I did play basketball. Was okay. I ended up playing my senior year. Once I committed to WSU, it kind of took off the pressure of baseball. So, I know coaches these days and back then loved multi-sport athletes. So I thought, it would be a good way for me to get in shape and, hopefully maybe help put on some LBs at the time. But I think it actually did the opposite. I ended up losing a little bit of weight, but shout out Mike Waters. But yeah, I really enjoyed playing basketball. At one point, I thought, man, I love basketball so much. Maybe I can go play in college, but that dream quickly ended when I realized I was only 6 foot at the time and could barely touch the rim. So yeah.
It's funny you bring up Mike Waters because he's my weights coach. We were talking about you the other day, and he shared a story about one time where you were injured on the court, and he had to pick you up and cradle you and walk you off.
Oh no.
He was so proud of it. Do you recall
He
that?
Oh, yeah. Well, so this was, I think, before I actually got to high school. This might have been like our eighth grade, maybe going into my ninth grade year. We were in Cedro Woolley, and we went to a pizza restaurant. I don't know if it was the food or what it was, but I ended up just getting deathly ill. Could not stop, throwing up. It was awful. And it got to the point where Coach Waters thought it would be best to go to the hospital. And instead of me walking out, he picked me up in his arms. He carried me to the ER. He placed me in the bed. Oh, he's got the greatest story, but shout out Mike Waters, man. He was my man.
Oh man, shifted away now from Eastmont and Mr. Waters. You went to WSU for 4 years, and what went into your decision of staying going to WSU?
I mean, my mom, she grew up Coug, went to WSU as well. That had a big factor into it, and I just felt like Coach Allen at the time, he just made a lot of sense to me when he would talk to me. So I think the decision was pretty easy for not only me but my family, feeling comfortable with me going to Pullman and starting my collegiate career there. So, I just felt at home when I went on my official visit there. Absolutely love Pullman, would highly recommend any kid going to WSU. I think it's a different experience than what you would get going to, say, that other school on the other side of the mountains. But yeah, absolutely love the Cougs. Loved being a Coug and playing for them. There's a lot of history there as well. Guys like John Olerud, Aaron Seeley, like all those guys. It's so cool to be a part of that history.
Mm-hmm. And looking back at your time there, just how was the play like for you throughout that time?
Well, it's like I said, with me coming over here at a young age and getting to play against some of the best guys in the country, I felt like I was really prepared. The only thing that was a bit of a challenge for me was, I was still growing up. My body wasn't where, it was ended up being. So I struggled putting on weight. It's just a lot of the genetics. It took me a little longer to grow. Um, but absolutely loved my time there and felt like I really was able to develop. We Most people would look at three different assistant coaches as challenging. I actually looked at it as an opportunity to learn from three different philosophies. Spencer Allen was a big oppo guy, hitting low hard line drives. Then the next year I had Coach Ware, who was a big power gap guy. So using the big parts of the field, getting the ball in the air. And then Joe Ross, my last assistant coach, he also had a philosophy of getting your nose closer to the strike zone. So just a bunch of different ways to, take it and learn from it. So, I try to apply that in any shape way I can to others.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, it definitely seemed to work as you were then drafted by the Washington Nationals after your senior year. What was that experience like just being drafted towards a major league team?
Nerve-wracking, to be honest with you. Going into my senior year, I had spoken to a lot of major league clubs about potentially being drafted by them. Um, and then once draft day actually came around, it's really stressful because you have the first day where high school kids, the top talent in the country is going to go on that first day. I was hoping to be a senior sign, some money with the senior sign like me. Didn't happen, and then thankfully on day two, got the got the call. Pretty cool experience. It got to a point where I needed to go take a drive because I'm sitting there, watching the TV 24/7. And my dad actually ended up calling me. He was calling to check in on me, and I told I had to get out of the house. I couldn't keep looking at the TV. And right as he was about to hang up the phone, he was like, "Oh my God, you just got drafted." I thought he was joking with me at first. So I'm like, "Man, that's stop it." I didn't get a phone call or anything. He's like, "No, I swear to God, you just got drafted by the Nationals in the 16th round." And it was like, "What?" So then I had to rush home and check to make sure he wasn't, BSing me. But yeah, it was a pretty cool experience. I ended up having a few of my buddies meet up with me down at the Wild Card, and we ended up celebrating down there. Ended up going to one of the shops in the mall there and buying two Nationals hats, one for myself and one for my little brother. So it was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, of course. And then you go into the minors and just tell us a little bit about that minors experience. What's the day to day look like? How do you guys prepare for game day?
Yeah, I mean, most guys, I think nowadays will tell you it's just a grind, but I looked at it every day as a blessing. Getting to put on the uniform, getting to take the same field as guys like, Ryan Zimmerman at the time, Trey Turner, Anthony Rendon. I mean, there's just so much history and, just being able to take the same field that they once played and stood at, the same batters boxes. I absolutely loved every minute of it. And I think that actually allowed me to play longer than most. I mean, I was able to make it my entire length of my contract. Um, but the day-to-day stuff, I mean, you pretty much show up to the field at 11 o'clock, get your early work in, whether that's hitting, fielding, and then you pretty much have a routine that you follow, batting practice, take any outie, then get yourself ready for the game. That was pretty much rinse and repeat every day for 142 games. But it was just so awesome. You get to meet so many different people. Every year, there's at that time there was 40 new guys coming in potentially. So it was cool getting to meet, different people from different parts of the country. I've been in 7 or 8 weddings now for all my baseball buddies. So I got another one here coming up very soon. So it was just so cool to, meet so many new people and call them really close friends at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you mentioned like playing and facing guys who are now in the MLB playing on those rosters. What was it like to face the top talent in all of the world?
Oh man, it was electric. That's the best way I can put it. A memory that comes to my mind is there was a spring training where we had Steven Strasburg come down. He was rehabbing, needed to get some innings in, and he ended up facing a bunch of minor leaguers. And I was fortunate enough to be one of those guys. And every AB that I had against him, I'd take him to a full count. And the difference between, a big leaguer like that and maybe a minor leaguer is they have a 4 pitch mix and they can locate each and every one of them. So when I got him to that 3-2 count, he would always throw me a 3-2 changeup, and I'd always be so aggressive and ready for that fastball that I'd swing right over the top of it. And it just makes you appreciate, the kind of talent that they have.
Yeah, of course. And with minor leagues, there's so many different levels and constantly moving up and down. What was that like for you going from single A to double A and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, there each level, it's a new jump, I would say. When I was in low A, well, even before that, when I got to short season, imagine every Friday night guy for every D1 college. That's pretty much where, who's getting drafted at that point. So you're facing every Friday night guy from, every different college around the country. Not to mention you have your high school picks as well that throw absolute gas. Um, and that level, it's kind of sporadic. Guys can locate maybe two pitches, but each level that you go up, it's like they can locate that third pitch now. And then you get up to double A, and it's like you're one step away from getting a call at that point.
Mhm.
I definitely say double A was the toughest level. Um,
Mhm.
but when I got to high A, that's where I really started to understand why it was so important to have a plan, and stick to it and not just, roll up there every AB expecting, different things to happen or me trying new things out. So it was kind of like a reality check for me.
Mhm.
I definitely struggled my first year in high A, but also had some successes. And then that second year when I was in high A, I ended up winning a batting title there. So you just have to continuously want to learn. And you start to really understand like the routines and things that you can fall back on when you're struggling. So it was a really good experience though.
Yeah, and after 6 years there in the minors, you decided to take a different direction. What do you do now?
Yeah, so after I was done with the Nationals, I actually did 1 year of indie ball up in Winnipeg, which an incredible experience getting to go play in Canada and experience the American Association. And then I actually ended up down in Mexico during the winter, which was incredible. They truly have a unique baseball experience down there. If you're ever down in the Mexico area, I would highly recommend going to one of those Winter League games and or the Summer League that they have there. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, we were going to places like Mazatlan, Monterrey, Mexico City, and I mean they just fill those stadiums. So that was pretty cool. But I started to have a feeling of I was getting close to the end of my career at that time down in Mexico when I started to get more excited for my teammates than my own successes.
Mhm.
I had a teammate down there that was going through a little bit of a struggle at the plate. He, came up to me and was asking me a bunch of different questions about, my routine, what do I work on? And we ended up doing some work together. And I think 2 or 3 games later, he hit an absolute bomb. And it was like, I didn't even care what I did that game or really any point moving forward. It was like, I'm so hyped for my buddy right now and
Yeah.
just being able to help him. So that's how I kind of knew my career was coming close to an end. And then when I actually retired, I hopped into tech sales because I just didn't really know what I wanted to do next.
Mhm.
And my wife was like, well, if you want to make money quick, but I did that for about 3 years. And then last year, I actually ended up helping an 11-year-old team here in Woodinville. And that's kind of what got the itch for me hopping back into coaching and being around baseball. I definitely needed a break. I needed like a 3 year break. It was nice to have a summer for the first time in, I don't know, 16, 17 years. But yeah, hopped into some tech sales and then now I'm coaching over at Edmonds.
Yeah, and as a coach and having your years of experience, one just at WSU and then in the minors, how do you bring the stuff you learned into your coaching point of view now?
I think the one thing that I've learned is not, everything is different for how you would view something. So you just have to kind of pick and choose, what works for people, try things out. I'm sitting here right now over at Edmonds helping some guys with their hitting stuff, and it's like, okay, like this is what I'm seeing. This is what, helped me or helped others that are similar to your swing. Try it out, like just being able to have that conversation, just, keep it loose with them. I think that's one of my biggest strengths is, being able to have that conversation and not just, you're doing this wrong. It's like, let's talk about the good things you're doing and then, the things that you're not doing so well and how we can kind of adjust that. And it's like going back to those days at WSU when I had three different assistant coaches, you kind of have to pick and choose what works for you and what doesn't. And I have a pretty good understanding of, what works for some people and what doesn't. And I hope that, that door remains open and that they don't shut the door when something doesn't work. They just know that, okay, that's not working. Let's try something else.
Yeah. And then now going into this summer, what do you hope to bring to the Sox in your first year of coaching?
I would hope that I can bring excitement and a real passion and love for the game. It seems like nowadays it's a lot of individuality coming out, which is great, but at the end of the day, it takes nine guys to win a championship. So I hope that I can come to work and just, prepare them to the best of my ability. That's really all I can hope for.
Yeah, and what do you say you're most looking forward to going into the summer?
I gotta say, just being around that home park, man. I have so many fond memories of going and watching the games, collecting foul balls so that I can use them for my own batting practice. Just being in that atmosphere, my nephew actually goes there to WVC right now, and I've been able to go watch a couple of his games, and it's like every time I'm back there, it's just there's something about that field and that stadium and that crowd that just, gives you goosebumps. So I hope that we can really bring back that good quality baseball and, Mitch Darlington, to his credit, man, he has built an absolute great quality program, and I'm just so happy that he's trusting me enough to bring me in and continue to help, put championship product on that field.
Yeah, of course. And the last question for you today, for all the Sox fans out there, what's your message to them?
I would say that I'm 100% committed to bringing the best quality of baseball back to Wenatchee, and I can't wait to see that first pitch and that crowd there. And I hope that I can bring the energy for you guys every day.
Thank you, and I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks for having me.
AppleSox fans, make sure to stay tuned for more episodes of the Wenatchee AppleSox Podcast. My name is Jackson Dodd. Thank you, and stay tuned for more.